When you think of battlefield cemeteries, you think of the ones that are in France from the First World War and the Second World War, and the American cemeteries in France as well, not just Commonwealth ones. But here, in North Wales, I found a Commonwealth Graves Commission cemetery, and let's explore it together. So yes, hello, and you join me again here on the Echoes from the Past YouTube channel, and today I'm literally down the road, and it's amazing that I came across this place. So I am currently at Bottlewood St Margaret's Church, also known locally as the Marble Church. And as you will see from the B-roll footage that I put into the church, it is striking, I think is the word. It's beautiful, it's striking, it's amazing architecture. But located in the grounds of this marble church is a Commonwealth Graves Commission cemetery. Now, like I said in the intro, you think of these cemeteries are normally massive and they're in France. So Commonwealth Graves Commission cemeteries, memorials, graves, landscapes and records can be found at 23,000 locations in more than 150 countries and territories, which is insane. And again, like I said, you think of them being around the world in France and there's some in Burma as well, from what I know. So when I came across this one, there's one in North Wales. It's insane. So digging into the history was really, really interesting. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about the Commonwealth Graves Commission. So the Commonwealth Graves Commission was founded by Royal Charter in 1917. So yes, the Commonwealth War Graves Commission is what takes care of Commonwealth soldiers, so UK Empire in quotation marks, so people from the past who were part of the British Empire, they're also taking part. That's why there's Canadians here, and they're taken care of by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission. And as well, so the American equivalent is the American Battle Monuments Commission. So they do similar things in the cemeteries in Normandy and around the world as well. And I think they're both amazing organisations. The graves are always immaculate, beautiful flowers in front of them, the grass in front and behind is trimmed beautifully as well. And I've thought in the past, that would be my ideal retirement job, of taking care of war graves, because you're still paying back, you're maintaining them, you're making sure that they don't get forgotten about. And that ties in really nicely with kind of like the mission statement that I found from the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, and I'm gonna read it word for word so I don't get it wrong. So this is straight from the Commonwealth War Graves Commission website, and they say, and I resonate with this so much: we believe that remembering individuals who have died in conflict is of universal, perpetual relevance, and that reflecting on their deaths is of continuing and paramount importance for us all. And that's the message I certainly try to convey here on this channel, this small channel that's growing, which is good. But when I read that, I was thinking, yes, that is exactly the kind of message that I agree with. Because, yes, these people died, obviously the First World War graves over 100 years ago, and we're getting close with the Second World War now being nearly 100 years ago. But it's still of perpetual relevance to us. Because we can still look back and we can still learn things, and also I think it's nice here, it's a beautiful day in North Wales here, and it's nice just to be able to come and pay your respects and just take a minute and sit down and kind of reflect as well. So that's a nice part of these kind of sites as well. Where I am now in St Margaret's Church is the final resting place of over 100 Commonwealth service men and women. A lot of them, as you'll see from the footage, bear the maple leaf of Canada from the First World War, and unfortunately a lot of them died from the Spanish influenza outbreak that happened just after the First World War. So obviously they came back from France, they're waiting here to go back across the Atlantic to Canada, and unfortunately the Spanish flu outbreak happened, and they died of that in the local Kinmel Park, or Kinmel Camp, which was the military training park that was created here in North Wales. And at the time, that Kinmel Park was actually the largest army camp in Wales during the First World War, and it was a massive training area for everything to do with the First World War. So they had mock trenches where they could, train people in trench warfare. And then later in the Second World War, it was still kind of military grounds. So from what I could find, I think it was still used in some capacity in the Second World War. And to back my theory up, I actually found a really cool picture of a target identifying document from the Luftwaffe in 1940. So they knew about it, and they thought, we might need to bomb this because this could be, an important strategic asset for the British to train troops, so we need to take this out. So I find that picture was amazing. Well, I thought it was really nice here in St Margaret's Church. So I did my research prior to this, obviously, as a good amateur historian that I am. But they've got this board here in English and Welsh, obviously, and it's just a little bit of history about, mainly the First World War graves that are here and Kinmel Park, which is amazing because so if you're bringing young children here to visit a relative, and then they might see this and think, oh, what's this? And then they can get interested in it as well, which is really, really lovely. And as well, it kind of mentions that the Canadians from the First World War actually created a memorial of red sandstone, which I didn't know that from my research. I didn't come across that on the website. So let's go take a look at that. So here is the red sandstone monument, and it's really, really lovely. Obviously, it stands out quite contrastingly with the white of the Commonwealth Grave Commission graves, but it's still nice to have it here. And on the front, I'll try my best to read this with the sun. So it actually states, to the memory of Canadian soldiers who fell at Kinmel Park Camp during the Great War, this memorial was erected by their comrades. Their name liveth forevermore. And I think that says a lot. I've heard a lot about, when I read about the war and you get the sense of comradeship that us civilians will just never really truly understand. So clearly, the Canadians, the friends of these Canadians who passed away, wanted to create their own memorial to pay homage and to remember their fallen comrades. And here is the grave from the Second World War that I wanted to talk about and highlight today here at the Marble Church in Bodelwyddan. So this is the final resting place of Charles Herbert Fawcett, and as it says there, he was a major, but he was actually a temporary major, but I couldn't find the reason why. So a lot of the research I found was about him and him being in North Wales, but I couldn't find much about how he passed away. So I'm kind of joining dots that might not necessarily be there, so bear with me. So yes, he was a temporary major, part of 227 Anti-Aircraft Driver Training Regiment, and he died on the 28th of November 1944. Now, from what I could find with my research, as I showed on the boards of there, it mentions about the Kinmel Park, or Kinmel Camp as it was also known. Now, I think that 227 Anti-Aircraft Driver Training Regiment could have been stationed at that camp, because it was a training camp of the First World War, so, and yes, it was affected by the riots in 1919, but then it was rebuilt. It was always kept as a kind of military grounds, so then will it have been rebuilt and reused in the Second World War? Probably, because that makes sense. So I suspect that it was some kind of training accident at Kinmel Park or Kinmel Camp. Again, I couldn't really find anything, it was really difficult, but I still wanted to come and I wanted to highlight obviously this one grave and show the others from the First World War as well. So there we have it. It was a really, really nice little morning visit here to this Commonwealth Grave Commission site here in North Wales. If you ever are in North Wales, I'd recommend coming visiting it. Just seeing the church is amazing, and then where the graves are situated is really nice as well. And it's, like I said before, it's just nice to come and pay your respects and just take a minute, sit on the lovely, nice bench, the Lest We Forget bench that they've got there as well. So yes, thank you very much for joining. I hope you've enjoyed that one. I'm looking at something a little bit different here. but still war related, obviously, as always. The war waffle always continues. So yes, thank you very much for joining me. If you did enjoy, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We're growing really fast now. It's amazing to see, so thank you very much for that as well. So yes, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.